I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No I won't leave, I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review everybody's favorite hit Disney film of 2016, Zootopia. I'm your host, Simul, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host...
Choco, hello everybody. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving turkey gobble gobble day.
Yes, happy Thanksgiving to all those American listeners out there, which is probably most of you, I assume. And today is actually a very special episode because we have made it to the 1 hour mark. That's right, we are on minute 60. Can't believe it, we finally made it. A whole hour into this film. So, we've got a lot of exciting stuff to talk about, and if you're following along with us, this minute is going to start at timestamp 10000 and go all the way to 10059. Now we've got to switch up our timestamp. It's not just the number of the minute anymore. Pretty exciting.
Yep. This is a fun minute, and I guess we'll talk a little bit about it. Before we mention that, Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, is in movie theaters now, and there's a little Nick cameo. I just saw it. It was an okay movie, but I mostly was there for the Nick.
Nice. All right, well, let's jump into the minute. So, this minute picks up right where the last one left off. Nick is able to finish his sentence. I was never gonna let them see that they got to me, is what he says. And the second thing, if the world's only going to see a fox as shifty and trustworthy, there's no point in trying to be anything else. Well, they continue on for a moment, and then Nick suddenly has an idea. Hey, there's traffic cams all over the city. Maybe they saw what happened to Monchus, the jaguar from earlier. So now all they have to do is check the traffic cams, but Bogo's probably not going to let Judy into the system. However, they do have a friend at City Hall who may be able to help. And our minute ends right again on a nice transition, a nice scene transition. We get a nice, beautiful sort of skyline picture of Zootopia, and then a flash to City Hall where we see Bellwether. So any first thoughts?
So, looking at the Skytram, I was once again thinking about the new tram system they're building over at Disney World. And how they're trying to make a lot of safety precautions to make sure that the Disney World attendees don't jump out and fall on the highways below. And I was thinking about, wait a minute, how did they get on this tram? Because the docking area, I guess, was kind of unguarded. There's no one there. They just, did they have to pay for it? Did they just snuck on?
I know. There was no fee. I was thinking about that because they got on, there doesn't seem to be a fee, and then Nick is commenting on how bad the traffic is down below later on, and it's like, well, why don't more people use this tram if it's free?
Yeah, well, I know some cities are doing that, making, people movers or transportation systems that are free or at least kind of cheap to cut down on pollution and traffic. So I was wondering if this is what they're doing in this world, but it's like, well, no one's even watching that area where the loading system is. Kids could be playing on that ledge and just fall off.
I know.
It's dangerous. Zootopia is a very dangerous place.
Also, really cool, though, because, I don't know, if I was a kid, I would love to just mess with that unsupervised.
Yeah.
I wonder how often that happens. Well, let's take a look at some of the dialogue we have coming into this minute.
Okay.
So again, Nick has just wrapped up this story from his childhood, and he's telling us the things that he learned that day, that he's never going to let anyone see that they get to him. And two, and Judy says, and two, and she has the cutest look on her face, these big round eyes looking up at Nick. It's just this really cute face as she's saying this, to which Nick replies, if the world's only gonna see a fox as shifty and untrustworthy, then there's no point in trying to be anything else. Pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah, especially if you either take the racial or class or whatever stereotype that you want to put in the role of the Predators and Nick. It's a very strong message.
Yeah. It also calls back, it makes me wonder what Judy's thinking when he says that, because most of Judy's experience with foxes has been negative, right? Gideon Gray in her childhood was a bully. Her parents gave her anti-fox spray at the beginning of the movie. So I wonder if Judy almost feels a little bit of guilt.
I thought you said Antifa spray.
Antifa spray? Oh,
Anti-fox spray.
Pepper spray and bricks and glass. filled with
Oh
paint.
no, you're gonna get in trouble again. All right. Yeah, well, again, that we said Nick's childhood experience with prey have also been kind of bad. So they both had bad, as we learned, they both had bad childhoods with the opposite species type.
Yeah, there's probably just a bit of residual distrust in the whole community between predator prey, maybe. I don't know.
Well, I will say the moment when Judy touches Nick, my dad was like, okay, how long will it be till they have babies?
Right? The shipping begins. She says, Nick, you are so much more than that, and puts her paw on Nick's arm. And Nick kind of looks at her and pulls back a little bit, and then goes into this next line, which is great, where it seems like he's kind of trying to change the subject. He goes, boy, look at that traffic down there. How about we go up to Chuck and Traffic Central? Chuck, how are things looking on the jam cams? Just being sort of sarcastic, changing the topic. Really interesting, too, is the roads below, when he's talking about the traffic, where are they even going? It's like a bunch of weird spiraling roads, like elevated highways that just seem to go in loops and circles.
Yeah, so that's what I'm paused on right now. I'm looking at it, and I'm mostly because I was trying to find the different car sizes for different animals, as we saw earlier. Yeah, we had like small mouse cars and big giraffe cars. And if we look at that road area, there's that weird S shape that just loops around the tree for some reason. You could kind of see that there are cars of different dimensions. Mm-hmm. No, I just want to point out that they still have different dimensions on this weird road structure. And normally, whenever roads are this weird, it's because they are transitioning from one country to another. Like, specifically, one country drives on the left side of the road to a country drives on the right side.
Oh, and they do
a
weird switchover thing?
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking, but obviously I don't think that's it. I just think they want to cram as much, because from that angle he's looking at, if he was looking at a regular, like, let's say Los Angeles highway, you only see, like, 2 different lanes, and it won't look, even though it might be full of traffic, it won't look that visually packed. So to get as much roads in a small area as possible, you have to curve the roads a bit and make them constrict. So it's like, oh, look, we do have traffic because all the roads are in view and all the roads that you see are crowded.
Right. I'm looking at these structures holding the roads, and it does not look stable either. It looks like pieces of wood just like haphazardly nailed together like a wooden coaster or something. I feel like it would not actually support the weight of all those cars.
Yeah, it does look wooden coaster like. I guess since they're trying to keep the animal/African architecture vibe going on through Zootopia, they would not have concrete columns as we in the West would have, or we humans would have. So I guess it would make sense to try to build it in the same way we used to build the road and roller coasters.
I just don't know if I would trust it. But I do like the view they're getting from this gondola. As they get higher and higher, you can see also the sun is starting to come up, which adds a change in lighting that seems to kind of work well with the transition out of Nick's story. Like, it's a new day, there's new hope, you know?
Yeah, and I also like to point out that the cars, most of their headlights are also on, so...
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I really like this scene where you look down at the roads, because you can see the sun obviously is hitting the gondola before it's hitting the ground way down there, because they're up above. The light is getting past the mountains probably and hitting them first. And so you can see it's almost still very like Twilight-ish down there. And in fact, in real rainforests, very little of sunlight actually gets all the way to the forest floor. It often stays dark even during the day if you're way down in there, just because it's so dense.
Well, I was also thinking about the trick they used to teach you in science class where you could watch 2 sunsets, where you lie on your stomach and watch a sunset on the ocean, and then you get up as the sun sets, and then you could see a second sunset.
Yeah, or you can do that if you ride like the turbo elevator on the Burj Khalifa.
Yeah, where they have different laws for Ramadan because you have to fast at certain times.
Yeah,
so people,
I
think people on the top floor of the Burj Khalifa, they have to eat like 3 minutes after, or they're able to eat 3 minutes after everyone else on the ground is able to. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Going back to the shift, the thing that, Nick tells his tragic backstory and Judy's like, oh, I'm so sorry. That reminds me of so many real life situations where it's kind of hard. They're like, okay, how do you transition out of this? It's like, oh yeah, like, hey, how's your mom doing? Oh, my mom dies. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. And it's like, okay, how do you transition past this point?
How about that weather, eh?
Yeah, because it's happened many times at cons where someone has come up to me and said something, and I was in something bad happened, or the opposite, where something bad happened to them. And it's like, oh yeah, I haven't seen you in ages. How things been? And something. It's like, oh, okay, well let's go back and have fun. It's like it's kind of hard.
It's because when people ask when people ask how are you, oftentimes they don't really want to know how you're doing. It's just a polite thing to say. You don't really expect a real answer when you ask people that. You just expect oh, I'm good, you know.
Oh, is that what you do around me?
No, I feel like that's how it is, like, a lot of the time, at least. It's just one of those things where it's filler talk, you know? It's not really there to gain information. It's just, this is how you start a conversation.
Yeah, it's the greetings you have to get through, just.
That'd be a good way to just freak people out. Like, anytime someone asks you how you're doing, just be brutally honest and be like, terrible. Like, everything sucks. I hate my life. How about you? Are you doing better? I bet you're doing so much better. Gosh. So Nick does comment on the traffic down there, and you can tell he's kind of like, maybe he thinks he's overshared a bit or something. So he makes this joke about the traffic, and Judy's like, no, Nick, I'm glad you told me. And then Nick kind of looks up, gets an interesting look in his eye and says, wait a minute, the jam cams. Judy says, no, seriously, it's okay, because Judy still thinks like Nick is trying to just change the topic. And Nick says, no, shh, look, there are traffic cameras everywhere, all over the canopy. And he's pointing down, and you can see a fake kind of palm tree structure with some cameras on it, with the gondola up above it in the background. And he says, whatever happened to the Jaguar? And Judy finishes, the traffic cams would have caught it. Bingo, says Nick. And it's interesting, as you see the traffic cams below and it's looking up at the gondola, that specific frame does look super Disney-esque. It looks like they're in Disneyland or something. Something about the fake flowery looking tree and the cameras and the sky mover thing just all looked very Disney.
I really hope that they at least make a section of their new gondola system reminiscent of the Zootopia one. That would be fun, but they probably will not. Do they call them jam cams in real life? They just call them traffic cams.
I have never heard anyone call it a jam cam. Maybe it's a regional thing. They don't call it that here. It's just a traffic camera.
Another thing I want to point out is when we go back to them, we actually see mountains in the background, which is kind of interesting. So maybe the part of the area is surrounded by mountains.
Mm-hmm. During this whole scene, they're still above the rainforest district. Because when you look below, it's still like dense forest.
Yeah, so is the rainforest district, is it bordered by a giant mountain range?
It could be on one side.
Is that way past the rainforest district? Is that like all the way outside?
Oh, like way far? I don't know.
Yeah, because the mountains kind of do look a bit further. Yeah. Another thing, once again, really cute expressions with Nick and Judy. Specifically Nick. He has nice ear movements, nice eye movements. I want to give him a nice pat on the head.
Real nice ear movements.
Yeah. I want to pat him on the head. Very good. Good fox.
Yeah, just a lot of cuteness going on. Much shipping in here as well. This is kind of where that starts.
Speaking of shipping, the guy who did the Zootopia abortion comic, he started the sequel to it.
Oh, no.
I started reading it. It's kind of adorable. I think it's only 10. He only got 10 pages up right now, but it's kind of funny.
Interesting. I'll have to ask you about that later. Well, this minute does continue. Nick says, bingo, yes, the traffic cams would have caught it. And then Judy sort of does a playful punch at Nick and says, oh-ho, pretty sneaky, Slick. Punches him in the arm. And then Nick says, yes, however, if you didn't have access to the system before, I doubt Chief Buffalo Butt, referring to Bogo, is going to let you into it now. And he looks kind of dejected. And Judy replies, no, but I have a friend at City Hall who might. And then the camera pans up. You get this gorgeous shot of downtown Zootopia with the sun coming up. Just beautiful skyline. And then we see City Hall, and we see who else but Bellwether carrying a big stack of binders. So I assume that's who they're going to talk to.
Yeah. Well, back to when Judy punched Nick. I don't know if I misremember the scene, but I thought when she punched him, he slyly rubbed it discreetly.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought that must have been another scene then, because I remember seeing something similar to that before.
Probably. I mean, I don't know how hard Judy can punch. How hard do you think? Not even how hard is she punching now? How hard do you think she can punch in general?
She is the top of her class in Police Academy.
Right. Does that mean she can punch?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, she is a rabbit. There's a lot of animals in the police academy that, like, you'd think there's no way Judy could actually have as much physical strength as something like a rhino. So I figure, yeah, she's top of her class, but does that necessarily mean she's also the strongest? Probably not.
Yeah, Mr. Ben Shapiro.
Why does that make me Ben Shapiro?
It sounds like something he would say.
Hey, facts don't care about your feelings, okay? Something Yamaka.
Okay, well, yeah, so hopefully that means she's seeing her friend, quote-unquote friend, because it's the Chekhov gun thing where Bellwether said if you need a friend in the city hall, you know who to ask.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
it is calling back to that. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
the rule where you make an omelet in the beginning of the movie and you have to eat the omelet at the end of the movie.
Exactly. It is interesting that they do have to go to City Hall to get this done because, again, all this stuff Bogo's doing to put obstacles in Judy's way, it seems like obstruction of justice almost. I suppose it's technically not because it really is like his call, but I don't know. I feel like a good police chief would be trying to do everything he can to help an investigation. And that's basically where the minute ends, and we'll have to see if their efforts are fruitful in the following minutes.
Speaking of fruitful, what did you eat for Thanksgiving?
Not fruit. I ate some turkey. I ate some stuffing and some potatoes and gravy and cranberry sauce, and it was good. How was your Thanksgiving?
So first time I tried cooking beef Wellington. It's just me and my roommate. So we made beef Wellington, green bean casserole.
How did the beef Wellington turn out?
I think it was okay. He put the bottom was a little bit soggy, so it wasn't a crispy bottom. So I guess unless you put it on a rack, I guess. But the inside was really good. But ironically, it was the beef Wellington. So we couldn't get a beef Wellington log, we couldn't get a tenderloin log to do a proper beef Wellington. So we got individual slices of filet mignon. And what's strange was the more expensive cuts ended up being stringy and tough, while the cheaper filet mignon cuts were perfect. We could cut it with a butter knife.
I've not tried to make it, but that's like one of those recipes that can be kind of difficult. Like,
I think it is definitely considered one of the hardest ones, and I know
that's why they use it in Hell's Kitchen.
Yeah, stuff. As the test. It's Gordon Ramsay's, I think, one of his signature dishes, and I think most beef Wellington recipes you see online now are all based off the improvements that Gordon Ramsay did.
Well, what is it? It's beef, and then you have sort of a mushroom-based kind of sauce, and then puff pastry around it, right?
Well, yeah. I forgot what the mushroom paste was called. There was a specific name for it, but I think Gordon Ramsay, he adds the prosciutto or Parma ham around that.
Right. Yeah.
And then his tenderloin is also, before you put the mushrooms on it, it's smothered in English mustard, specifically English mustard. You don't put any other type of mustard on it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the big like coarse grain mustard that has all the seeds in it still?
Yeah, that's what I used. I actually used Dupont Gray.
Nice.
So yeah, it was pretty good. After Thanksgiving, actually the day before Thanksgiving, because it's strange, most movies are released on Thursday, but I guess for Thanksgiving week, movies are released on Wednesday, which I didn't realize. But me and my roommate, we saw Wreck-It Ralph 2, Ralph Breaks the Internet, even though it should be called Ralph Wrecks the Internet. I don't know why I didn't do the other way around.
Yeah.
There's no Mario in the movie, and
oh well, then I'm not seeing it ever.
I mostly watched it for Nick Wilde. There's probably like 2 seconds of Nick Wilde, and I thought there should be at least 10 seconds of Nick Wilde.
Yeah, needs about twice as much Nick.
He needs to be about 20% more Nick Wilde's.
Yeah.
It was a cute movie. It wasn't as good as the first one. It's funny because I see a lot of commenters said that Emoji Movie was DreamWorks' attempt, or I don't know which company did it, but Emoji Movie was an attempt to do a Wreck-It Ralph, and Wreck-It Ralph 2 was an attempt to do a better Emoji Movie. I've never seen Emoji Movie, but based on the reviews, it seemed like Wreck-It Ralph 2 took the concept of Emoji Movie and did it a million times better.
I wouldn't be surprised. The first one was really good, I thought. The first Wreck-It Ralph.
The first Wreck-It Ralph cannot be topped. Second one, it's probably one of the cuter movies I've seen this year, so I don't mind. It's nice.
Awesome. Man, I gotta see a new movie soon. I haven't been to a theater in like a few months, I think.
Yeah, the other one I was considering seeing is Crimes of Grindelwald. I'm not much of a Harry Potter fan.
Oh yeah, the next Fantastic Beasts movie.
It looks like it's been panned by critics. It's 40% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh wow, really?
And I think people are upset that J.K. Rowling keeps on changing the backstories of all her characters.
Yeah.
And
she's an interesting character.
So, okay, I didn't see the movie, so I don't think this is spoilers because it's in the promotional stuff. But I find it ironic that some of the decisions she did to rewrite some of the characters' backstories in this movie pissed off not only the alt-right, but the SJW crowd.
Give an example.
Okay, so the big one is Nagini. In the regular Harry Potter books, Nagini was just the pet snake of Voldemort. Voldemort, right? In the trailers for Crimes of Grindelwald, Nagini is an Asian woman played by a Korean actress who could transform into a snake. So
she's an animagus.
Yeah, well, so on one side you have the crazy alt-right people saying, oh my god, just because you didn't have a proper Asian character in the original Harry Potter trilogy doesn't mean you could all of a sudden make the Snake Lady Asian character. On the other hand, you have the social justice side saying, oh my god, you have the one of your few Asian characters in the Harry Potter lore, and she is
complaining that it is a snake. Like, that's a problem.
And she's the pet she's a pet of an evil white man.
I mean, I don't even understand why she would be a human. That doesn't really make sense with the stories told in the books. So
this is where J.K. Rowling started tweeting back at these people.
Why?
Okay, so she said, well, if you notice the word Nagini comes from Naga. And she says, and in Indonesian mythology, Nagas are snake women who could turn to snake and stuff and vice versa. And then all of a sudden there was a flurry of comments saying, actually, the Naga is from India, not Indonesia. And just because a Korean actress is Asian, she's not the type of Asian where the Nagas come from.
That sounds like a mess. Yeah, I don't know. J.K. Rowling, I mean, the Harry Potter series is great, but it's the type of thing where J.K. Rowling, if you ever look at what she does online, it's always basically just fishing for points.
Well, I think it's funny that she's trying to appeal to the more progressive crowd, and in the end, she ended up getting them a lot more upset.
Yeah. Well, that's the internet for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're probably about out of time.
Oh, well, I guess if you guys didn't take a look at it, the guy who made I Will Survive, the infamous Zootopia abortion comic, he's starting a sequel. I think he's uploading it week by week. Right now, I think there's 12 pages up, and it's called Born to be Alive, where Nick tries to come back to Judy. So he hasn't seen Judy in a year.
Interesting.
He's pretending, oh, I'm dying, let me in. So she lets him into an apartment because she thinks he's going to die. He's like, no, it's just pretending. Anyways, how have you been doing, Carrots? And Judy's like still pissed, and Nick is like trying to be all chipper and happy. And then Judy's like, I thought you didn't like me because of my primordial sin or something. And Nick is like, ha ha ha, did I really say that? Wow, I must have been crazy when I was talking about it.
That sounds incredibly bizarre, and I definitely want to check it out later.
All right, so if you guys want to check it out, it's called Born to be Alive. It's on the guy's DeviantArt page. And if you
Borba,
want to see,
right?
Yep, Borba. And if you want to see Nick Wilde, check him out in Wreck-It Ralph 2: Ralph Breaks the Internet.
All right. Well, I think that's about all the time we have for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening to Zootopia Minute. If you did enjoy the podcast, please give our video a like. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Twitter at Zootopia Minute, and you can send us an email with basically anything you would like us to know to our inbox at zootopiaminute@gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening and sticking with us to the 1 hour mark. We will see you on the next episode.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.